Welcome back to another prequel episode of Big Rig Family. We are picking up where we left off at the end of episode 64. So this is 2006, the beginning of 2006. In late 2005, we purchased a trailer and got our own authority. And so here in 2006, we have been running under our own authority. And sometimes I go with Milkman, but sometimes not. I think most of the time I did go with him. For the most part, we were in the truck. We were running under our own authority. And our main plan was that we were running out and back. So we would go. It was so easy where we lived then. We were living in Southern California, in a town that was really kind of central to trucking. So we could go to Southern California. That's where we usually picked up most of our loads, and then head out east in almost any direction. And then we could come back. So we basically just did one load out and one load back. I remember that for most of the time, I was the one to find the loads. Milkman is not very technologically savvy, and so he didn't know how to look for the loads. I remember having to tell him, make him all kinds of instructions on how to turn on the computer and get online so that he could find loads. And it was always interesting. So in the meantime, these are pictures of our truck and trailer. So we're still using the same 1999 International, and then this trailer is a Strick dry van. Strick is a brand, and it's not a very well-known brand. I think it was super cheap. I think this thing cost us like $14,000. I mean, it was pretty cheap. I sometimes went with you, sometimes not, but we continued to do this for another 3.5 years.
Wow.
Until the very end of 2008.
What?
Kitchen grease.
Oh my gosh. We don't need to be talking
We
about
do.
kitchen grease.
We do.
We really
Get
don't.
back over
We
here.
We don't.
So in 2007, this is when biodiesel started to kind of become a thing. And we were reading all kinds of articles and all kinds of stuff on how to use used kitchen grease and convert it into biodiesel. So we decided that this would be a good idea for us. Was it a good idea?
No.
But in the meantime, we made all of these. We bought all these drums, and then we painted them our color, put our name on it, and we tried to get some customers. We had like 3 customers, right? We had one Chinese restaurant, and then we had the father and the son. There were so many problems with trying to use kitchen grease as a base for biodiesel. But one of the big ones was just that you had so much gunk in the grease. And so we had to filter it out. And of course, we started just with like a strainer, a regular kitchen strainer. And then we had all kinds of filters that we used that got smaller and smaller and smaller. And so we had a whole system. We were getting it going. But, you know, the bigger problem was that we lived in California. And they didn't know what to make of all of this. And the reason we ended up stopping was that we kept calling around trying to find out what government agencies were involved. Nobody told us that the Department of Agriculture was involved. And then we found that out. And so we said, okay, well, we want to do this legit. So how do we do this? And I kept asking the guy, and he just didn't know. I was like, well, is there a checklist? Is there, any kind of documentation of everything that I need to do? And he would not tell me anything or give me anything. All he would do was tell me the next step. We kept trying to do all of the steps that they kept saying. And at one point we came to a place where we just could not. There was a hurdle that we could not get over. And so we ended up having to shut down our operation, and we had to, tell our customers that we were closing down, and we felt really bad. But, this was really the first time that I personally experienced the bureaucracy really, really, really working against small businesses, because they were not helping us to know what needed to be done. And so it was a very, very frustrating experience.
Yeah.
And what we didn't realize was that when you haul someone's kitchen grease away, you also have to clean out their grease traps.
Yeah.
And their grease traps got nasty really quickly.
Yeah.
And we never ended up using any of the grease. We never ended up making the biodiesel. It was stinky. Oh my gosh, it was so disgusting because it's got all the food in it. Oh my gosh. Talk about stench.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to do something big with ourselves, but we never did. And so then 2008 happened, and anybody who lived through it remembers that 2008 was a pretty bad year. That's when all of the refinancing, all of that big whole mess happened, and our bubble burst, and everybody was broke, and so nobody was buying anything, nobody was shipping anything.
That's when you went to school.
I went back to school, and what did you do?
I went back to work as a company driver.
Yeah, we parked it. You went back to work you were working with the same people that we had all worked with before, but it was a different company now.
Right.
And so hauling the same chemicals, and I went back to school to get my master's degree. And I always had these great thoughts of being some fabulous professor. And so the whole time you drove hauling the chemicals, I was staying with Milkman's parents because they lived really close to my school. I would stay with them all week long and then just go home on the weekends. I realize that may sound like a total nightmare to some people, but I actually adore Milkman's parents. They were both wonderful to me the entire time I was there, and I still love going and visiting. So it was the best thing for me. I loved that I was able to stay there. You would stay in your motorhome, or in that was it in that? No, in the motorhome.
Yeah. You
stayed in the motorhome near where your terminal was.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it was interesting, but we didn't see a lot of each other, but I would try to, on my weekends, he was always working, but I would go and see him and spend at least spend a little bit of time. And then during summers, I had a lot of time off. Although sometimes during the summers I would work again for the ice company. And then I graduated. Woohoo! I graduated, but I also missed being with you, right? I had spent 3.5 years away from you, not able to be with you in the truck, not spending a lot of time together. One of my last projects had something to do with trucking,
that's right.
And it really got me excited. And you said, why not? Why can't we go back out together? We couldn't use our truck anymore. There were a couple of reasons we couldn't use that truck. So now this is 2012.
We're going to be company drivers again.
For who?
Oh my gosh. Holy cow, that's right. For CRST. Holy cow.
Yes.
What wasn't that miserable? Wow.
The same company that had been my first job, we went back to them because I had only been working sporadically, and so I needed to go out with a trainer. Nobody would take me. They didn't see me as an experienced driver, even though I'd had like 5 years. And so he had to go to a driver trainer class, and they forgot to put him in it.
Yeah.
And then when I contacted them and said, why aren't we going out? They said, we're looking for a non-smoking trainer for you. I said, this guy is my non-smoking trainer. And they said, oh, well, he hasn't taken the trainer class. And I said, we told you all along that he was going to be my trainer. This was the thing. They were so confused over there. And so we had to wait a whole nother week because the trainer class was only on specific days. And I went to the trainer class with you, and I knew more than everybody else in that class. I remember there were all these questions about when you could extend your 14 hours to 16 hours because of weather and stuff like that. I knew all these answers, and I was like, I can't believe you guys are making me have a trainer. And you were pissed off because they almost made you go out with a trainer.
Yeah.
And I remember they were having you back trailers in all over the place.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the guys saying, well, I guess he knows how to back up. I was like, dude, because he's got 30 years of experience. This isn't some newbie, who's been out there for 5 months. But anyway, yeah, so we didn't last very long. They, as bad as they were when we were owner ops, they were,
oh my gosh,
10 times worse when we were company drivers.
Wow, that was so miserable.
So I think the most frustrating thing about working for CRST as a company driver was that we didn't have any autonomy. And when they left us high and dry with no load, we were really limited on our options. They were constantly telling us not to idle the trucks, but then they would leave us for 5 days over a long holiday weekend in the middle of the summer with nowhere to go. We were not close to home. We were only allowed to deadhead 25 miles to get to a truck stop. And it was just extremely frustrating. And we were left high and dry many, many times, and often in areas with no truck stops. If we ever had any money, we did try to take advantage. And that's what happened here. So we ended up in the Seattle area at a truck stop, and there were just a gazillion. Look at all of these CRSTs just sitting around. And we arrived, and we were like, we are not getting out anytime soon. These other drivers were all here before us, so they are going to be given loads before we're going to be given loads. So we ended up renting a car. You can see Milkman here is in a car. This was before Uber, so if we wanted to get around, we had to rent a car. And we ended up just going places around Seattle. So here you can see Mount Rainier in the background. I think this is still at the truck stop, though. I'm not quite sure where that is, where this picture was taken, but we can see there's a truck in the background. We just did all kinds of fun stuff. So we also went to the Museum of Glass in Tacoma, and they had some pretty cool stuff. And we also went to the Fisherman's Wharf. We got a nice meal instead of a meal at a truck stop. This is Union Station. We're taking pictures everywhere we go, as you can see. There's a new automobile museum. It sounded really cool, and we wanted to see it, but it was like opening weekend, so it was just swamped with people. Oh, and here's the Seattle Aquarium. I don't think we went in, but we were just walking around on the outside. So we did try to make the most of it, but it really just got to be too much when we weren't making money, and they were also making our lives miserable. And so we had to go. Yeah. It was a horrible experience.
Well, then we got on with Andrus, and holy cow,
Yeah.
we made some serious bucks. They knew how to run a team.
Yeah.
And we were just running the West, and man, they ran us.
So Andrus Transportation, they were awesome. They were out of St. George, Utah. And oh my gosh, I mean, a small company, they were so sweet. The owner's wife would make us lunch every day. And I felt bad because we couldn't partake because it was always ham.
Right.
It was always like pork and ham and stuff we couldn't eat. But she would make lunch every single day for the people, for whoever was in orientation that week. And they were a great company.
But we made a lot of monay with them.
We made so much money with them. And yeah, they were, and the one thing though, they were running the 11 Western states. They had chains. They said, you have to chain up.
Yeah.
And sometimes they send messages to the entire fleet, and they would send a message. If you don't know how to chain, you need to come back in and learn how to chain, because we have customers that need their stuff, and you need to know how to chain. And what were you just saying to me?
That you did a great job of chaining, and how great of a job you did.
Thank you.
There with all the you're welcome.
Yeah. So we did chain up a lot. We did we were up and down I-5 a lot. We made so much money in like 6 months.
Yeah.
So much money that in 6 months we had enough money to purchase our own truck.
Right.
And so we purchased a Volvo. That was on February 14th. I remember it was Valentine's Day of 2013. And we didn't have enough money to buy a plate and to do, purchasing the truck. That's kind of takes all your money, right? So we wanted to lease on with somebody. And so we leased on with somebody. I don't even remember their names.
Yeah, I don't remember either. They were,
We leased on, we signed a contract. We went to Walmart.
But we went through all the orientation too.
We were down there. We went through all of their orientation.
We were ready to go out.
We were at Walmart purchasing supplies so that we could go out the very next day when I got a phone call. Do you want to adopt my baby? And we were like, yeah, but we're going out on a trip tomorrow. That's how we found out that Lugnut was going to be ours. The phone call was, do you want to adopt my baby? By the way, I'm 7 months along.
Yeah.
And so we had basically 2 months to get all of the paperwork going and have the home study done. We were living in a place that we knew nobody was going to approve. And so we had to rent an apartment. I mean, there was so much to do. In the meantime, we had just purchased this truck and we had payments that were about to be coming. And so we went on with Landstar.
What a mistake they are.
We leased on with Landstar. Landstar, they were one of the first companies where you're leased onto them, but you don't have a dispatcher telling you what to do. You go through their load board. They have their own load board, and you go through it, and you find your loads that way. And we could not find anything coming back to Southern California. And so that's why it didn't work.
So how long? We must have been there just a couple of weeks.
We were with Landstar, and they had a load picking up in New York City.
But what a mistake that was.
No, it wasn't. We survived it. We
I
survived it.
still have that. No, you might have survived it. I've never survived it.
You're still scarred.
I still think of the stupid hot dog guy in front of me on the road. He wouldn't get out of the way, and I couldn't get over. I mean, what the heck's a guy in a hot dog cart doing in the friggin' middle of Times Square? Just walking down the road. I mean, yeah.
Nobody likes driving to New York City because it's too scary. But this was extra scary. Why? Because when you go to New York City, when somebody says you're going to New York City, you are very rarely going to Manhattan. But this load picked up in Manhattan. And this was before trucker GPSs. And so we had explicit instructions as to how to get there. But they were still kind of confusing. And what?
Well, especially when you see the heights of the bridges that you're going through, you know, when it says 11.5 or something like that,
Yeah.
you know.
The broker had given us very explicit instructions. So 13.6 is the normal height of a dry van. He told us, you know, you had to get in from Brooklyn, I think, right? And you came in from the east side, and then you had to cross all the way across the island to the west side of the island. And the first thing that when we got off that bridge, it said, okay, go off towards the right. We go off towards the right. We see that there's a bridge going over us, and it says like 12.5 or something. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're not going to fit under that bridge. And so we call up the broker. We're like, the bridge says, he goes, I guarantee you that bridge is not 12.5. You'll fit under it. I mean, that was scary, but we went super slowly and we got under it. Yeah, I think they say that it's a shorter height because of the snow. Is that snow and
That's
ice?
what they say.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
So we got across.
Yeah.
You got across. We got to whatever convention center. We were picking up convention supplies. And so we went, we checked in, and then they said, okay, go park on the street, and then we'll give you a call. They called us. They said, come on in. Milkman couldn't get out.
Yeah.
There was too much traffic, and he's a professional. He couldn't get out. I said, get out of that driver's seat. I got in the driver's seat, and I got out. I was like, you just have to muscle your way out. And so we got there, and we did it. Everything was fine, but it was pretty traumatic. We ditched Landstar because they just didn't have enough loads going to the West Coast.
And their loads that they had were so slow.
That's right.
Gosh, they were so slow. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, they weren't great for a team.
No.
So we ditched them and we leased on to another company that was based out of Southern California. And they were run by an Israeli guy. And that's as much as we want to say about that. That's where we were when Lugnut was born.
Yeah.
And the rest will be on another video.
Oh, thank goodness.
I'm sorry. Believe me, the editing room is
Yeah,
where
you
it
got
all
a
happens,
lot of-
baby.
Yeah, you got a lot.
So, do you want to say it?
That's a wrap. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.